Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Justice League 2001 show. On today's segment, we will be discussing addictions. More formally, today's addiction is social media. We will be discussing the negative effects that it has. With us, we have our addictionee, Sabika Lakhani, all the way to the right. With her, we have two guests, her father, Eric, and her best friend, also someone who suffered from social media addiction, Noel. Before diving in, a couple things we should just get off the bat. According to Mike Algan of ComputerWorld.com, most of the major social network companies and all the content creators specifically make social networks so addictive that you can't resist them, which dives into the research that was conducted by the National Institute of Health, which labeled internet addiction as a disorder, where they further stated that internet addiction causes neurological complications, psychological disorders, and generally just social problems. Before diving into there, we're going to focus on Eric and what he has to say about his daughter Sabika and how that's impacted their relationship.
Hi everyone. This is my daughter Sabika. She's a social media addict. And from someone that's been there from the beginning of social media, from the early 2000s, back when there was AOL, Yahoo Chat. Maybe you guys all remember those little spear-looking cameras that most of you probably don't know what they are now. And up to now, I see the negative effect it has on a bunch of people, especially the general population. It's, according to GrowingSocialMedia.com, 1.6 billion people use Facebook, 230 million use Twitter, 440 million use Google, 1 billion use YouTube, 430 million use Instagram, and 110 million use Pinterest. Not to mention, my daughter has run into a couple of doors and objects along the way for just staring at her phone the whole time. Into an emergency room a couple of times too. I can't tell how much time she spends on that. I mean, what could be so important that she can't look up where she's walking to? It's ridiculous the amount of time she spends on her phone and people in general spend on their phone. According to Pew Research Center, the average time in 2012 spent on Facebook was 6.75 hours, 1.5 hours in Pinterest, 21 minutes on Twitter, 17 minutes in Instagram, and 3 minutes in Google. Just the other day I was telling her to invite the neighbors over to the house, and she just stayed still, looked at her phone, got up and walked away. I'm like, she told you to do something. She said she did it. She said she did it through Facebook, which I don't know what she meant by that.
Let's not attack each other today, guys. It's getting hot and heavy. We're going to focus on to her best friend, someone who's also suffered from the problem itself at hand. Noel, what do you have to say about your best friend? And what message can you help persuade her?
As a former worker for a social media company, I too have been addicted to social media use. I've had my fair share of trying to go viral, trying to get likes, retweets, and followers. For example, I have this picture of myself doing things that I shouldn't be doing. According to a research done by Pew Internet and American Life project called Social Media and Mobile Internet Use Among Teens and Young Adults, written by Amanda Lenhart and Kristen Purcell, published February 3rd, 2010, access December 2016. 63% of teens are online every day, 36% of teens go online several times a day, and 27% go online about once a day. More than 26% of teens go online weekly. The study was conducted from 2004 to 2009, and the amount of teens using social media was already high. Imagine if this was more recent with all the technological advances that we had. She spends the majority of her time on her phone looking at her social media. In the study done by Dennis Mazzalin and Susan Moore called Internet Use, Identity Development and Social Anxiety Among Young Adults, published 2004 as is 2016, they found that internet use was associated with less mature identity states and higher social anxiety. She's done a lot of dumb things, trying to get retweets, likes, and followers. She's more concerned with the approvals of strangers, trying to get trendy, that she doesn't even know herself on a surface level. She's constantly on her phone checking it, and sometimes she forgets to interact with those around her.
Wow, thank you for the deep, meaningful words. Most watched episode today by far. Thank you, Eric, the father of Sabika, for giving his insight on the attention and unawareness of the addiction at hand. Thank you, Noel, someone who's also suffered from the same problem, someone who's done embarrassing things in his own life and regrets it now. Thank you for the kind message. We're going to dive into Sabika and see what she has to say about her addiction, her perception of it, and how we can either help or understand and come to a mutual agreement as to how to handle the situation at hand.
I, on the other hand, don't think social media is so negative. I actually think there's a lot of pros that come with it. It does make me feel more confident and it boosts my self-esteem. When I post a picture on Instagram, I do get a lot of likes and comments. So yeah, that obviously does make me feel better about myself. And also, I came across this post on December 3rd online, when I was going online, and according to the post by Common Sense Media on CNN, 1 in 5 teens said social media makes them feel more confident, and this was posted by Kelly Wallace on October 7, 2015. And also in the same post by CNN, out of 1,000 13 to 17-year-olds, 28 said social networking made them feel more outgoing, and 2% said it made them feel less shy. Also, I also think social media helps me personally know what's going on in the world a lot quicker. For example, I'll be scrolling through Twitter, and during election time, I was scrolling through Twitter, and I was getting second-by-second updates on, who our next president is going to be and who is winning and stuff. I didn't have to wait for that information. I was getting it right away. According to CNN, 50% of people learn about breaking news faster through social media than through anything else. Also, I think social media helps a lot with building connections. The job I work for right now, I actually got that job through Facebook. I had a mutual friend, and that friend's friend was the manager of the place that I work for now. So obviously that did help me a lot. And finally, I think social media increases interaction with family and friends a lot more. According to socialnetworking.com, 70% of adult social networking sites allow better connection and strengthens relationships between families and friends. So I do think being on social media, I'm not on it as much as they're saying, but the amount of time I'm on it, it does actually increase my relationships with families, and it also increases my connections, and it helps me gain knowledge on what's going on around the world.
Thank you. Wow, such meaningful words. Thank you for the insight, everybody. Eric, who's come here as her father, her best friend. We've learned things from psychological disorders and neurological disbursements to her defense and how it helps family interactions, confidence, and just overall social networking. In today's light, on the first and last episode of the Justice League 2001 show, we can all come to the understanding that social media is a great platform. It's just the abuse that comes behind it and how we can all improve and limit ourselves from basically causing that addiction to take place. Thank you all for coming out, and I hope you guys enjoyed the show.